my dudes, here's a day in my life as a baker. I run a bakery from my apartment in Stockholm and I sell pastry boxes on Saturdays. Today was Friday, a prep day. On Fridays, we bake mini cakes. These are one of the most popular items in the box, and this week's flavor was extra virgin olive oil cake with a mascarpone mousse and passion fruit curd. I'm using my favorite cake batter that I use every week. First round of cakes went into the oven and I moved on to an almond tart filling. I'm making Swedish katalaner this week, which are like mazariner but with jam and glaze on top. And a mazarin, for those of you who don't know, is a small almond tart, very traditional fika time treat here in Sweden. I packed the filling into containers and popped it into the fridge. First round of cake was done, and as they were cooling, I whipped together a glaze for the katalaner. This is just lemon juice and powdered sugar mixed together. I kept adding powdered sugar until I got the consistency I needed. I wanted it to be quite thick. Put that away, and then the cakes were cool enough for me to start knocking out. I only have 12 cake molds and have sold 48 boxes, which it was supposed to be 45, but through a series of mishaps with ordering ended up being 48 this week. Anyways, 48 boxes means 4 rounds of cake baking. This is the part that is the most irritating to me, but more molds are on their way, so nobody panic. Round 2 went into the oven and I got started on the passion fruit curd. Lemon juice, passion fruit juice, sugar, and eggs get put directly into a pot and placed on the stove. The mixture gets taken to 83 degrees Celsius. I added a bit of gelatin and then I poured it through a strainer. Plastic wrap goes on contact so a skin doesn't form as the curd cools for a bit. Round 2 of cake was out of the oven, and while I waited for it to cool, I cut pieces of parchment to line the boxes. I knocked out the cakes and took the bottoms off and once again washed the mold. Each mold then gets brushed with pan release and in goes exactly 110 grams of batter. Round 3 went in the oven and the passion fruit curd was now cooled enough for me to add the butter to it. I like to use a hand blender just because it goes so quickly, and in this instance I don't mind a bit of air being whipped in. I added some passion fruit seeds back into the curd at the end. The seeds are important because they help tell your brain what you're eating. I chopped up a bunch of rhubarb for the catalana. I made a strawberry simple syrup to soak the rhubarb in. Round 3 of the cake was baked and I organized the first 2 rounds. I used to individually wrap each cake in plastic and it was so tedious. This is much more efficient. Round 3 got knocked out and left to cool. The molds were washed again. They were brushed with pan release again, and each was filled with 110 grams of batter again and popped into the oven again. I made tart dough yesterday, so I took a round out from the fridge and rolled it out nice and thin. I made sure my cookie cutter was the correct size and then just went for it, cutting out all the tart rounds and lining the molds. Round 4 came out of the oven and I just kept on keeping on with the tart shells. I put them all away and then finally I could knock out and put away the last round of cake. And that was it for today. Check back tomorrow for Saturday's vlog. Hej då!